Time to put on your Y2K playlist, nuke up a plate of pizza rolls, and grab an ice cold can of Sarge, because today, throwing it back to the year 2000 with Sarge and the Brave Soldiers of Bravo Company and Army Men, Sarge's Heroes 2 for the Nintendo 64. If you grew up any time during or before the new millennium, there's a really good chance that somewhere you had a giant bucket of these little plastic army men that you used to set up all around your room, your house, or in your yard. You would have these massive wars with all these crazy stories and these wild adventures you came up with using that psychotic little kid imagination that you used to have. Plastic army men were a popular toy for literally decades on end. One video game developer, 3DO, got the amazing idea to take the popularity of this incredible toy and turn it into a very long-standing and extremely entertaining video game series known as Army Men. There were a handful of games released before, but in the year 2000, 3DO dropped Army Men Sarge's Heroes 2 for the Nintendo 64 and the PlayStation 1. This series took one of the greatest toys ever made and let you become them and fight in those wars that you used to imagine when you were a kid by mixing it with one of the greatest pastimes of all time: video games. A great game is nothing without a great cast of characters, and the Army Men series had one of the best: the Bravo Company. The Bravo Company is a team of badass mofos, a group of elite commandos in the Green Army known for being the best of the best on the battlefield. These guys are so lovable and memorable that even though I never actually owned this game as a kid, I never forgot any of them. The crew is made up of Sergeant Hawk, Colonel Grimm, Thick, Scorch, Riff, Hoover, Shrap, and Vicky. Sergeant Hawk is the fearless leader, an absolute beast of a soldier who defines honor and heroism if only the terms were molded in manly green plastic, with memorable catchphrases such as "Good to go" after collecting a health pickup, "Alright, move out" at the beginning of a level, or "Oh yeah" after picking up any of the awesome weapons or explosives scattered around the battlefield. Sarge is easily one of the most lovable and badass protagonists of this era. Colonel Grimm is an old school veteran of at least a dozen wars. Hardened by his experiences, he commands Sarge and the rest of Bravo Company through conflict after conflict without fear. Colonel Grimm is one tough son of a bitch. Thick is my favorite of the commandos. Bravo Company doesn't need a tank because Thick is a tank. He's the heavy weapons specialist once described as an educated trigger finger attached to a brain-dead soldier. Don't let his single-digit IQ put you off though. Thick is as loyal as he is strong and as fearless as he is clueless. Scorch is the plastic-melting, flamethrower-wielding, tan soldier sizzling commando that helps Sarge clear battlefields in a blaze and has a strange affinity for the smell of burnt plastic in the morning. Riff is the bazooka man, the tank destroyer, and known lover of jazz music. He is cool-headed, loyal, and intelligent, making him a reliable ally and a close friend to Sarge. Riff brings the chill that some of the rest of Bravo Company could desperately use. Hoover is the rather cowardly nerd of the commandos. However, he does not let fear get in the way of loyalty. Thanks to his natural nose for danger, Hoover has kept the rest of Bravo Company out of harm's way time and time again with his trusty, mind-sweeping metal detector. Hoover is a real hero in spite of being a bit of a chicken shit. Shrap is a silly surfer dude who found himself manning a mortar and blasting hordes of tan soldiers sky high for a living. He may be a little unorthodox, but he's a really cool guy, and you always want to be friends with the dude who can rain down hellfire and death from above on the heads of your enemies. Finally, we have Vicky, Colonel Grimm's daughter and Sarge's love interest. Vicky was not a part of Bravo Company in the first Sarge's Heroes, however, has been since inducted into the group, and for good reason. This girl kicks ass. Vicky takes on some massive and powerful enemies as she helps Sarge in some key moments of some major missions with some deadly objectives. The story of Army Men Sarge's Heroes 2 is generally pretty fun and lighthearted, with an easy to follow plot, lots of fun buddy missions, some great 90s pop culture references, and the exciting experience of exploring the amazing real world levels as a tiny plastic soldier. The Tan Army is reeling after their leader, General Plastro, went missing in the real world, suspected to have fallen victim to a process known as plastrification, the side effect of an army man spending too much time in the real world, which causes him to harden into a plastic statue. The mission of the Green Army is to stop the Tan Army from securing an anti-plastrification serum, which they could use to revive General Plastro. Additionally, the Green Army is leading a manhunt for Field Marshal Tannenberg, the acting leader of the Tan Army in General Plastro's absence, in hopes of brokering a peace treaty between the two historically warring nations. Of course, by the time Sarge and Bravo Company get their hands on Tannenberg, Plastro reappears and begins to wreak havoc on the Green's plans for peace, reigniting a war that was all but over. The Army Men series took the war beyond the battlefield and brought it into the home, with stages taking place in both the plastic world and the real world. The Army Men appear normal in size, while in the plastic world, which looks mostly like a military base for plastic men. While fighting in the real world, they're literally tiny little toy plastic men, with the maps made up of absolutely massive everyday household objects, such as food, kids' toys, and office supplies, in places like the inside of a fridge, a kid's bedroom, or a toy store. When you start the campaign, you get dumped right into a battlefield in the middle of a giant dinner table, surrounded by breakable dishes and a massive ham. Tan soldiers pop out from behind random glasses and attack you and the rest of Bravo Company as you try to secure the portal between the plastic world and the real world. The very first mission instantly gives you a taste of just how fun and unique and cool this game is. The levels only continue to get more and more entertaining as the game carries on, with battles taking place over a canyon bridged by an erector set, inside of the fridge in some random dude's kitchen, in the freezer above that same fridge, the poorly wired walls of a spider-infested home, a creepy graveyard full of multicolored zombies, a dusty old castle, the crumbling tan base, the freshly attacked green base, a cluttered desk, a kid's messy bedroom, a blue town caught up in the war between the tans and the greens, the cashier's desk at a toy store, a toy train set, the tans rocket facility full of devastating missiles, a huge pool table full of traps and ambushes, and finally, a pinball table where Sarge must risk all to save everyone he knows and loves and stop General Plastro once and for all. The real-world levels still bring me back to being 10 years old again. The first time that you jump from the top of that towering ham to the high shelf in the refrigerator is unforgettable. Shooting the cola cans in the freezer and watching them spray all over is childish and fun. Climbing down to the desk from the high shelf and across the computer keyboard seems like such a small task, but is an entertaining expedition all its own. Traversing mounds of heaped up blankets in search of a blue spy seems mundane but becomes an adventure. Searching the toy store for some change to use in the gumball machine and rescue Vicky rivals any damsel in distress situation from that era. Finding your way through the many layers of the pool table is a labyrinth of fun and exploration. Searching the pinball table to rescue the Bravo Company commandos is a harrowing high-stakes mission that puts on the pressure, yet still feels like a fun adventure through a very cleverly designed battlefield. What good is a bomb cast of heroes and a world full of amazing war zones without a great roster of enemies? Absolutely nothing. Fortunately, Army Men Sarge's Heroes 2 brings the heat with a pretty decent crew of bad guys to keep you busy. The common grunt enemy is the basic tan soldier. Merciless and dim-witted, the tan soldiers attack on sight and occasionally set up an ambush around a corner or behind a piece of scenery. Ranging from single units to multi-man squads, attacks from the Tan Army can feel devastating. But don't feel too outnumbered though. These toy soldiers were clearly molded from recycled stormtrooper action figures because they can shoot all day, but they aren't hitting shit. Contrasting from the tan soldiers in a lot of ways except for the color are the tan tanks. These beasts control a set path and attack when the player comes within a certain distance. When you see that turret slowly turning your direction, take cover. The tan tanks tend to land their hits, and they can be absolutely devastating. Bringing death from above, there's the attack helicopter. a tan chopper with machine gun capabilities that seeks to mow down green soldiers by the dozen. Keep your bazooka handy to make quick work of these guys, but stay frosty, because if they land on top of Sarge when they crash, they'll crush him to death. Smaller and harder to hit than the full-size tan soldiers, mini soldiers appear in the last few levels of the game. While they may be a fair bit trickier to actually shoot at than their full-size counterparts, they're every bit as dim-witted and dull. Multicolored zombies line the graveyard and Dr. Mad's castle. Slow-moving but incredibly durable, these monsters will rip your whole face off in just a couple of swipes. Bringing back memories of my first ever encounter with a re-dead in The Legend of Zelda, these undead freaks always gave me the creeps when I was a kid. Some of the coolest enemies in the game were the toys that General Plastro brought to life with the use of the anti-plastrification serum, the first of which that you encounter is a super robot, a giant red and yellow robot with a deadly machine gun and a devastating flamethrower. The first time you ever saw this guy, he probably melted you into a sizzling heap of dead soldier because he had no idea what to expect. Shock troopers are vicious-looking black robots with a destructive electrical attack that's said to deal massive amounts of damage. However, they move so slowly that I never actually took a hit from one of them in my recent playthrough of the game. Still looks sick though. The Robo Spider is obviously a camel. Oh wait, no, it's a robotic spider toy. These guys aren't much danger aside from their ability to suck up your entire stockpile of ammo. Best practice is to just go around them. Toy scorpions are very similar in behavior to robo spiders and can be just as big of a waste of ammo. Avoid them and focus on the tan soldier shooting you in the back. Finally, we have our only organic enemy, the queen of the heebie-jeebies, the massive and aggressive spiders found in the wall level and Dr. Mad's castle. These monstrous black widows will chase you down and suck up a ton of your ammo. If you have a little TNT or flamethrower, let them burn. Otherwise, just keep soaking that bullet sponge until the thing finally drops. Now, of course, there are enemies that were exclusive to the PlayStation 1 version of the game. However, I never actually played that version. So, if you did and there's something that sticks out, drop a comment about it below. To take on an army of tan soldiers, corrupted toys, and captive spiders, you need a good artillery to make the bad guys go bye-bye. Sarge starts out with the reliable old M16 with a bottomless supply of ammunition. Like it or not, you're gonna find yourself using this one a lot. As the game progresses, you pick up more and more weapons ranging from rifles to explosives. It doesn't take long to get a hold of a shotgun, an M60 machine gun, or a sniper rifle. If big booms are more your style, keep your eyes peeled for grenades, grenade launchers, bazookas, mortars, firecrackers, or TNT. If you're looking to bring the heat, then grab a flamethrower and watch the world burn. Finally, when you've had enough and decide it's time to blow yourself up, call in an airstrike. Seriously, that thing was so cool, but so easy to kill yourself with. Once again though, there were a handful of PlayStation 1 exclusive weapons, so if you played that and you remember them, drop them in the comments below. I cannot possibly overstate how much I actually love this game. There was something special about this concept that this was the perspective of these toys that I'd been playing with ever since I was just a tiny little kid. To see the world from that perspective set my imagination ablaze, not only making the game more fun, but making playing with my real toys more fun as well. It just gave me more ideas for different adventures, more personalities for the characters that I would make up as I would play, and it just taught me how to think up better stories. I still get that childlike feeling when I play this game, and it makes me long for those days when I'd spend hours setting up these massive scenes and playing out all these adventures and wars and stories, and it makes me wish for a big old bucket of green plastic army men that I could set up around my office, my garage, my house, or just anywhere, and just to get that little hit of childhood joy over and over again every time I see one of those goofy little green plastic men peeking out from behind some random object. There's something special about a video game that takes you back to being a kid, even if it wasn't the best game in the world or the story wasn't very long. All that matters is the memories that you have with it and the fun that you get to cherish when you play it. Sarge and the rest of Bravo Company are a lot of fun, and they awaken my inner child. For me, me, playing these old games isn't about comparing them to modern games or determining whether they're better or worse. It's just all about getting in touch with my inner child. I miss being a kid. Those things that give you that whimsical feeling, well, they're priceless. If you'd like to get another hit of that childhood nostalgia, then click on this video here, and let's remember another amazing retro game together.